NordVPN.com/Fightful. 4 months free, a 30-day money-back guarantee. It works on all your devices, phone, laptop, desktop, PC, router, doesn't matter. It's got you covered. Change your virtual location with just one click. Get access to more content around the globe and content at a much more affordable price. Protect yourself from online trackers, malware, annoying pop-up ads. NordVPN.com/Fightful. How are you going to pass this up? It effectively pays for itself within about a month or two of using it, especially if you buy pay-per-views like I do. Get access to the old WWE network, those things that you miss with NordVPN.com/Fightful. And you get that incredible deal. They've got 3 great tiers for you to choose from. So check it out, whether you want to pass, a VPN, a locker, or all 3. NordVPN.com/Fightful has you covered. What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful, here with a name you know, and how could you not? Former IWGP World Champion. First time interviewing him, though. We got Will Ospreay. How you doing, man?
All good on this end, my man. You good?
I'm doing great. I mean, Wrestle Kingdom's coming up. Big time of the year. I think it's the most exciting few months of the year for wrestling, but January especially, you got Wrestle Kingdom. Later on, there's Royal Rumble. Everybody's talking about wrestling in January. How are you feeling going into the new year?
I always feel like I'm the same as you. I always look forward to January wrestling. I feel like everybody comes in with like a fresh state. Everyone's more motivated. Everyone kind of wants to make it their year. So you always get that like first run up and first look of not just in New Japan and WWE, but like everywhere in wrestling, like who's going to be the front runner and who's going to be like kind of taking the lead for the year, I guess. So I always get excited for that.
I'm very excited for Wrestle Kingdom. You're facing Kenny Omega, and I've had the good fortune of speaking with both you and Kenny this year for interviews, and I feel like some of this started when I talked to Kenny earlier this year. He said some saucy stuff about you, and as he's known to do. What was your reaction? I think it was back in June when Kenny, just out of nowhere, hasn't been in the ring for 7-8 months, is flapping his gums about you.
I mean, it's like typical Kenny. He obviously he oversteps sometimes and kind of puts his foot in his mouth. But I guess that's kind of what happens with me as well. So like I can't really be that mad, but if you're gonna put my name in your mouth, then just be prepared for me to respond. And I just went to town on him and I just embarrassed him in front of all of his little stand accounts. And that's the thing, all of those guys, they'll all tweet and they'll all like come at me, but like they're not gonna do it. You don't know where I live or anything. Like, and there's the funny bit, like you guys all know where I'm gonna be. It's like plenty advertised. Like I dare you guys to come say anything, but you won't. So that's kind of where it is. But Kenny's just Kenny. Do you know what I mean? He's an egomaniac. He's just a knobhead. He just thinks he knows everything, and just sometimes he's got to be punched in the mouth and just remind himself that he's not above anybody. He is what he is. He's just like a bloke that was really good at wrestling. I ain't gonna deny his drawing ability. I ain't gonna deny his talent. But be all and end all, you're a knobhead that can be beat. So.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When he was talking about you, he said some very complimentary things, but then Kenny has this unique way of sort of like burying people and making them look bad. Like he says, in a different vein, you have Will Ospreay. He can do anything. He's strong. He's fast. He's agile. He's a great representative for New Japan, for all the dudes that are hitting the pavement and making indie dates. He's their spokesman. And then he'll say stuff like, but he's had a bunch of 5-star matches that nobody cares about. Like, when you see that, do you take it as complimentary and think it's just him finding a way to take a shot? Or
yeah, 100%. It's about him just trying to take a shot because there's always that category of the best in the world, and I'd like to always throw my name in there, but it's always subjective to the fans. It's different in comparisons to what style of wrestling that you enjoy. But for me, being the best in the world is consistently putting yourself in different situations and different opponents that aren't located all in just one promotion. I like to test myself against all the AEW guys. I think I've wrestled there like 8 times and I've just like stole the show from all of them, which says everything. And then you go like New Japan and then I always steal the show there. I like any of these, what he says, like no name indie guys. automatically, I test myself against those guys, and then they automatically become better. Like, my whole thing is to be the best in the world. That you have to travel to each continent and prove it. So I feel like it's easy to do it on the bright lights and the arena or in the big arenas, but I think really consistently putting in those 5-star matches, I guess, if you want to go down that route, and always be able to shine and being able to say that you're the best in the world by consistently doing that, I think that's the harder job, and Kenny's never done that.
And that was sorry to interrupt. That was one of the interesting things about what Kenny said, because I was like, Kenny, you're going off on Will. You know this is going to be the headline. Like, you know what I do. You know this is going to be the headline. And he says, well, I'm digging myself a little bit of a hole here. Will's great. He's amazing. He's earned those ratings. He's fantastic. And then he'll say, I just don't think that those performances are as good as mine.
Like, but that's his opinion. And like, the thing is, once again, I can never combat and I can never tell you. Like, Kenny's one of the biggest stars in wrestling, right? Like, we all paid attention to that golden era of New Japan, and like, so did I, dude. I was there for his first Wrestle Kingdom. I was watching it for myself, and I was inspired by that. And I'm never gonna like be able to like ever change his opinion or if he thinks that he's better than me. But the only thing that will happen is when January rocks around, we're going to see who the better wrestler is. In terms of like performances, it's all subjective. But in terms of in ring, we're going to find out now. It's going to be your best versus my best, and like there's going to be no excuses anymore. It's just going to be two of the greatest wrestlers that have ever lived right now. Like I would happily say my run in 2022 has been one like an all timer, here, there, and everywhere. And now going against the guy, and it's oddly poetic that is going to happen in the Tokyo Dome, where, I mean, that's where I personally believed the hype of Kenny. Like, the G1 was cool, but like when he had that match with Okada in that main event of the G1, that's when I believed the hype. And I believe a lot of other people would probably agree with me on that. So now to do it in the venue that made you famous, the lights are on bright. And then, I mean, how lucky is he that he's actually going to have a full vocal range of fans now? And that's the bit that's going to interest me more than anything, is because there's going to be a side that is so happy to see Kenny back, and there's going to be another side is for me, because I've been there and I've seen it through all the dark ages, through all the horrible stuff that we've had to put up through. And it's not just the wrestling, it's the flying to Japan, it's the isolating in the rooms that were no bigger than a New Japan Pro Wrestling ring. It was the mental strain of being away from families for months. Like, I even said it in my tweet, like, this is my first Christmas in like 3 years with my family, because I had to have that obligation to New Japan. So there's that side of that. I've done that battle and I've been there and I've done it. And I don't know the language. Like, he's constantly said it. I don't know the language. I try my best. I could barely speak English, bruv, let alone Japanese. So there is that side, but I don't need to learn the language to beat you. Like, all I got to do is learn how to count to 3, bruv. That's all I need.
Reminder, guys, you can check out Wrestle Kingdom on New Japan World, with so many other things as well. So this won't be your first time facing Kenny. I mean, you guys have been in the ring together numerous times, but the one that sticks out might have been the first one, PWG, 7 years ago. But so much has changed for both of you since then. I mean, physically, neither one of you are the same people that you were back then, and you were already fantastic at what you did back then. But so much from a physical and standpoint has adjusted since then. So how do you see this differentiating from that?
I think the one thing about me now is that I feel like I finally matured. It's taken like 10 years, but like I've just become my own man now. Like, I'm a front runner in the United Empire, or I like to say I'm the centre forward for my faction. And from there, I've been put in position. There's something that Kenny said in the New Japan interview, that I was shoehorned into a position after him and the Bucks and Cody all left to form AEW. And to an extent, he is right. I was happy being a junior heavyweight. I was super happy just doing that. And during my junior heavyweight run, finally realizing that I could put on some size and my training differentiated. And it was only after he left and after we had that chat in the Tokyo Dome that my mind did start changing, and I realized the power and the ability that I do hold, and how I could, if I trained right, could be considered one of the best in the world. And it just speaks volumes, especially from 2018. If you just look at the list and the matches that I've had, it's just been a constant maturity from me. And now I'm at my, I wouldn't even say I'm at my peak. I think I'm approaching it. Like I'm 1 year away from turning 30. I've still got plenty of gas left in the tank. So I've got like 10 years still being at the best of my abilities. And well, I mean, Kenny's had all the best matches. I mean, but I can't tell you any good ones in 2022. So this is now or never for Kenny. This is time to bring back the cleaner, the best bout machine, like that guy that we wanted to see in that golden age, but he's against me now. Like, and I've been the guy flying the flag. I've been the guy on the front line for New Japan. And I think it is going to be a super exciting match, especially what you saw from PWG. I was a kid back then. I'm a 29-year-old man with a mortgage, for God's sake, and I've got to pay bills. This is like, Kenny's just done me the biggest favor ever, because listen, I know full well like New Japan hasn't been the best because of the pandemic. It hasn't been good. Like I don't know anybody that wants to sit and watch wrestling where they can only clap. So to the fans that have come and supported us for all that, I can't tell them enough my appreciation, my thanks. But like to all those people now that are excited and coming back to New Japan to watch Kenny, it's going to be so much better, because now all those people that you brought back to New Japan are going to watch you fall down to me, bro. How funny is that?
It's interesting because when I see Kenny say the things that he said about you being shoehorned in because people left, again, I think that you and Kenny have a lot of parallels, because it could be argued, despite the fact that he objectively was a good decision, that happened with him when AJ, Nakamura, Gallows, and Anderson left as well, just like a month after you all had that one-on-one match at PWG, because he attacked AJ Styles, said, I'm tired of starving myself, tired of being a junior heavyweight, I'm moving up. Like, you could argue that same criticism applies to him a few years before, when he was in his early 30s, when he was at a similar spot in his career that you were. Like, when you look at that, do you see that, and do you think that he sees some of himself in you? Do you think he's threatened by that?
I do feel like we're in similar situations entirely. I think the only thing that differentiates himself is he kind of embraced the Japanese culture, and while I respect that, I just did. It was just a case of, I'm here to wrestle and I'm here to embrace the professional wrestling side and the work ethic side of things. That's where we kind of differentiate ourselves a little bit. But with what you are right though is just like, so for me, I knew Kenny when I wrestled him at PWG. My memory is of him wrestling sex dolls and like 9-year-old girls. Do you know what I mean? And for him to then grow from that into what he has become, is that no one would have been able to tell you after he attacked AJ Styles that what he was going to come. But he believed that. And as long as he believed it, then that's all that matters. But I believe currently right now that no one in the world can touch me. I mean that from WWE, in AEW, in Noah, in DDT, in All Japan. I believe no one has the pacing that I do. No one has the ability to get up and go the way I do. And I think Kenny is slightly threatened by that, because the bright lights of AEW have hid whatever has gone around in New Japan. He's been so busy with AEW, and then the moment he gets suspended, these lights of AEW shut off, and he's now seeing this shadow looming, and he knows that this shadow, if it gets any bigger, could overthrow him. So if he needs to come back right now, because if it gets too big, then there's no one going to be stopping me.
You mentioned the Okada match earlier. Do you have a personal favorite Kenny Omega match, since he talks a lot about ratings and how they apply to you and him?
That second Kenny and Okada match, the Dominion, where they went to a 60-minute time limit draw, just because I remember watching that at home and I couldn't believe the stamina of both men. I think a little bit it was inspiring, because I couldn't believe the stamina. I think that was the first time I actually watched a 60-minute time limit draw match, to be brutally honest with you. And to see the stamina and to see the effort from both guys, and I think it was one of those ones where, like, deep down, I knew I wanted to do that as well. I wanted to be that man with the endurance. So it must have triggered something in my mind watching that. It must have triggered something to get my ass in the gym and get in better shape, because I want to be that guy that can go the long distance.
I'm so all right. I spoke to Switchblade Jay White, I think it was last week, and he took exception to the notion that anybody was even discussing that you and Omega might be the main event, because I mean it is a match that so many fans are looking forward to because it's a dream match. What do you say to that? Like, do you believe that you all should be the main event, or do you think the IWGP title should take precedence over that?
Of course, look, if I was in Jay's position, of course, being the world heavyweight champion, I do believe that should be the main focus and the main event, especially with it being the 50-year anniversary and the celebration of Antonio Inoki. I do believe that. So in my heart, I want to say that, but then in my mind, I'm saying, what match are you more interested in? Me and Kenny, or Okada and Jay, which everyone's seen, I don't know, like 8 times now. And I think it's kind of funny now because, like, the IWGP United States Championship before I held it was very meaningless. I mean, it should be, in theory, defended over in America. Like, why it's not, I don't know. But the reality is I've taken a championship that means nothing and made it everything. And I can't recall a single Jay White championship match that I've enjoyed. And probably if you ask any other New Japan fan, which champion have they enjoyed more, Jay White or Ospreay, it probably would be me. But my heart will always say the World Heavyweight Championship should be the main event. So I'll give Jay that one. It should be the main event, but just realize that he's going to have a very hard job after me and Kenny are done.
You mentioned bringing the title over to America and things like that. You did some stuff with New Japan's American branch, Strong, which you talked about some of the struggles of the pandemic. I thought that Strong was one of the bright spots of the pandemic because it sort of forced New Japan into this brand split, and you see guys like Fred Rosser reinvent their careers and their lives, and it's really like put forward like some incredible talent and given some people a fantastic chance, and you had the opportunity to go over there and work. How did that differentiate for you? Because I know you didn't do like a ton of stuff over there, but you did do I think 5 or 6 matches.
Well, yeah, it was extremely hard because when that pandemic was still going, I couldn't still travel. You had to have an extremely special visa to be able to travel from the United Kingdom to United States. I even remember being on the phone to somebody. They said the only way you're getting this visa if you're Elton John, and we end up getting the visa. So I was kind of like, guess I'm Elton John. But I really like Strong, and two of my best friends, Kyle and Davis, went over there as a tag team and really lit the tag division on fire over there. I loved getting in the ring with some of the LA Dojo boys. I love taking the piss out of them as well, just because like that's the idea with wrestling. Like, if I'm not underneath your skin and you're not doing anything, like if I call you out, I want you to come shut me up. And like that's the thing with those LA Dojo guys. Have all got huge nut sacks to come up to a guy like me. In my mind at that time, I was still the real IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. So to see all those guys get an opportunity, and not only that, but to put on some real incredible matches, like Eddie Kingston versus Gabriel Kidd was an incredible bout. And I honestly do believe Strong could be like such a great alternative if you weren't keeping up with AEW and WWE. I think if you wanted a good, strong American brand, I think Strong is like a real good front runner.
I've always been fascinated because you have done things in your career your way. You've been offered an awful lot of things. There was the situation where Paul Heyman like offered you an Evolve contract on the spot. Obviously, not signing that ended up being a very, very good thing for you, considering the trajectory of your career. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago you said, I probably wouldn't sign with AEW unless they had an agreement with New Japan or something. Well, that's changed an awful lot. There was also word that you had signed a 5-year deal in 2019. Like, the nature of like where your career is going and where you could go is always a hot topic of discussion. Is that like a flattering thing to you, or is it like an exhausting thing to you? I mean, people are always interested in where you could be or where you will be.
No, it's always flattering if people do enjoy my work just because once again, I grew up in a small area of Essex and I still live there now. I refuse to leave. Um, and it's flattering to know where people want me to show up and where people want me to go. And you are right and all of that. Yeah, I signed a 5-year back in 2019, so that'll be up next year. And like, I don't really know. Like, my heart says I still will be with New Japan, but like, I won't lie to you. Like, I have mad anxiety when it comes to America, and just because I come from such a small area, and America is so big, so I've only really dipped my toes into American wrestling. Like, I mean, I've done my stint with Ring of Honor, but like, I think I wrestled there maybe 10 times, maybe. But like, I kind of like to arrive and then leave. I don't like to stick around too long. And that's no one's fault besides my own. It is just a mad anxiety that I do have. But I won't lie to you and say that like the time that I did have with AEW did open my eyes. And what I think that I know about myself and how good I am as a professional wrestler, being over there did make me take a step back and say, okay, well, maybe there is more to learn. But my heart does belong to New Japan after so many of the stuff. Like, these guys are the reason why I am a star. Like you said, there was that Evolve contract, and like that could have opened doorways. But I knew in my heart, if I stuck out with New Japan and if I worked hard, like, no one has the work ethic that I do when it comes to wrestling. A lot of the guys put their work effort into like their social medias and their bodies and their other little ventures outside of wrestling. But like, my whole thing is I wanted to be one of the best wrestlers going, and that is down to everything that New Japan has done. And the thing is why with New Japan is that I can stay in Essex, fly out, business, I must add, business class, head over to, and live a real comfy life where I've got my family and I've got New Japan. But like, with now other options, I don't know what's going to happen, but my heart definitely says New Japan.
When you see, like, they seem to be very accommodating to Pac. Like it seems like he can kind of just go back and forth and all that stuff. And you see the relationship with New Japan. It's not only is it blossoming, I mean, a little spoiler, fans voted Forbidden Door on our site the event of the year. So obviously that relationship is going great. Does that open your mind to a little bit more of that? Because I feel like we could see deals where New Japan and AEW are like, let's do a dual deal and make this work.
I mean, if the money talks it these days, right? I mean, and I'll happily say it, like, you know, like, I'm on phenomenal money, and it's money that I could literally only dream of. But, you know, like, it's just one of those things where I want to be able to make sure my mum and dad never work again. I want to make sure that this house is paid off one day. You know, it's still got like 24 years left on the damn mortgage, bro. So still got a long way of bumping and feeding to go. But like, you know, I'm just inspired to wrestle and at my best, and to have complete freedom of who I am as a wrestler. Because if anyone else had control over me, like, New Japan allows me to be as fluid and as creative as I want. Having someone else have control of me does intimidate me a little bit, because I'm not the best actor, I'll give you that, but I'm one of the best actors.
Did it surprise you to see that when Carl Anderson signed with WWE that they were able to work something out to where he would continue to be in New Japan? Because that was shocking to a lot of people, because not just because of that in general, but because of the New Japan AEW relationship.
I mean, yeah, like, I'm shocked at it as well, but in the same sense, now that like Triple H is running the ship, and like, it's got to be said, I think Triple H is a G. Like, I honestly think he's such a little gangster. Like, I've always liked him. Like, do you know what I mean? I think he's just a cool dude. Like, so I think he clearly watches what goes on outside of his bubble, which is amazing. And the fact that he's allowed Kyle to like have this like dual deal, I think is quite cool. But like, it does make me wonder, like, what doors could actually be open. And you know, like, I always want to know, like, who is the best out of their crop. You know, I always like testing myself, and I think it would be very, very interesting if there was like a way of making that door open. But you never know. But
I think we're closer than ever before. And like, it was fascinating because you wonder, what does AEW think? And then you think about it and you go, well, wait, they do business with AAA. AAA doesn't do business with New Japan because of CMLL. So it's just, it's like we're getting closer and closer every time. And I love it.
Maybe there'll be like a World Cup of pro wrestling one day. Maybe I'll throw my name in there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Before we wrap up, I'm so interested in how people develop certain moves. And the Stormbreaker might be my favorite move in wrestling. Like, that thing just visually amazing. It looks devastating. You're able to do it to people like Lance Archer, for the love of God. Like,
Wow, but he's an heavy. That one.
How does one even develop that move? Like, where do you possibly start? Like, how do you even dream up something like that and then get into the ring and start to work on it?
I mean, I don't know. The thing is with me is what people need to remember. I came from like backyard wrestling,
Of course,
where
yeah.
I had a wrestling ring in my mum's garden, and me and my friends after school would just grab each other and throw each other. And when you're that age, you just don't feel pain anymore. So we could like practice stuff all the time. And I just remember, I remember that move specifically from the backyard. And I remember just like doing it in a couple like dojo seminars like I was at, and just picking guys up and seeing if it was a devastating move. And it just turned out it was something that I think I needed, because the Oz Cutter was my finishing move at the time, but it left me very prone for counters. I was up in the air, they could just move out the way, and I'm taking like a goddamn 10-foot back bump. So for me, I needed a move that was a little less low risk and very impactful, and it turned out to be like the greatest thing ever, and still to this day no one's ever kicked out of it.
Who do you think took it the best of anybody you did? Which, I mean, a lot of it's on what you do, but I mean, is there anybody you saw and you're like, man, I got all of that one?
God, there's like a few guys on the indies for sure. Like I remember doing one to Flip Gordon during the Best of the Super Juniors, and that just felt so nice. Like, that was a good one. No, I just everyone I seem to hit it on, like, because I have the arm butterflies. Because I have the arm butterflied here, it makes it so easy to like twist people around. Yeah. So as like they're spinning, I have complete control over them. Like, they have no like real control. I've got everything here. So the moment they're spinning and I can whip their neck round, it's so much easier. Like, I can hit it on anyone.
And which one was the most difficult? Was it Archer?
Archer was heavy because obviously I think he's the biggest guy that I've ever hit it on. The heaviest guy though was Jeff. Like, I never hit it. No, I did hit it on Jeff. Jeff was the heaviest guy I ever hit it on. But Lance was like, in terms of stature, like, he was the biggest. I believe though I could never get him like up for it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get him. I had him kind of on a corner and I brought him down. But yeah, Jeff definitely the heaviest.
As we wrap up, a reminder, guys, New Japan World is where you can watch Wrestle Kingdom January 4th. I like to do an exercise to get some positive headlines out there, Will. We do a segment called...
positivity.
Yeah, we do a segment called Shooting Softly, which is the opposite of shooting hard, which is what you'll see on YouTube. You'll see like Enzo Amore shoots hard on Simon Gotch or something like that.
Basically, people being mean to one another.
Yeah, like, yeah. So instead,
that would be nice. I like that.
Yeah. So I'll start out with an easy one for you. Vader.
No comment. No, all right, here we go. Like, the impact that he made on wrestling should always be celebrated and memorized as a man of his size, and the things that he was doing, leaving people in awe. It's always a wonderful thing to be able to watch back on, and I hope that he rests well.
We have another one that maybe you've had some words with in the past. Another fellow top competitor, Seth Rollins.
I hated seeing what he was actually going through. Like, when everyone was being mean to him, I really didn't like that. I just thought it was just a little bit too much. I saw it as we're having fun with one another. Like, we're taking the piss out of one another.
Yeah.
I didn't like how people were actually like harassing him. Like, I really don't. I just don't like that in general. And I think that's the thing, though. Like, I've put myself in those situations, and like I don't like it either. So I think now maturing and growing up and actually growing from all of that, like I hope he's doing well, and like his character's cool. I love what he's doing, and he's definitely one of the best guys that WWE have. Like, and I think it would be an interesting showcase to have us both in the ring one day. So if this WWE door does open, I think it'd be great.
How about the Great O'Khan?
The greatest wrestler that this generation has ever seen. Have you seen the stuff that he was doing in Las Vegas?
I did. It was fantastic. How could you not like that guy?
You only got photos. I have videos that will never, ever be aired to the public.
Oh,
It's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. But that man is the epitome of what we should be doing. Is just going out there and having fun. We should just be wild animals, but contained wild animals.
I love it. Your Forbidden Door opponent, Orange Cassidy.
I've got nothing but good things to say about him. I think he's just a cool dude. You know, like I enjoyed the match with him, and I think he's the Atlantic champion now. So like, if he's generally a fighting champion, which I mean, if he can be bothered to be, but like, I do think it's time to do the rematch very soon.
Here's an easy one for you: Kyle Fletcher, Mark Davis.
The greatest tag team ever, and just two of my best friends. They were living with me in 2021. I've always had their back. I've always looked after them. They're two of the kindest people you ever meet in your entire life. Their dedication to not only professional wrestling, but to not signing anywhere else and waiting out until they got to Japan was phenomenal. I've got so many just wonderful memories that we can never actually say publicly until we're all three of us are about to die.
I love that they're getting their flowers like globally now. On like everybody recognizes them, and they're getting the recognition that they deserved long ago. And we'll wrap up. I want you to say something nice about your Wrestle Kingdom opponent, New Japan World, January 4th, Kenneth Omega.
I mean, I will never be able to like argue against his drawing ability, his talent, his charisma, and his reach in professional wrestling. He's a one-of-a-kind talent, one in a million. But the times come where everything's got to change. And I've been flying the flag, and I've done the things that you would never be able to do. The Kenny Omega that would wrestle in a pandemic New Japan World would have been broken and would have quit wrestling. He couldn't survive the things that I've survived through. So that's made me who I am today. And it's made me a very, very pissed off and angry person because he's constantly belittled everything that I've done. I'm looking forward to this because not only am I going to kick your fucking head in, bruv, I am going to enjoy it, and it's going to be on home soil. You might have been the Japan boy here ages ago, but you left. I stayed. I stuck it out.
January 4th, New Japan World, Wrestle Kingdom. I can't wait. Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega, and that's far from it, guys. You have Switchblade and Okada, among so many other matches. Will Ospreay, I want to thank you so much. The first time we got to talk. I hope we get to do it again. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
No worries, my man. I hope you're good.
Until next time, guys, we're out.
God bless.